conclude with life, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you're very welcome, Grainne. It's great to have you here, and for me to have the opportunity to ask you questions and share my experience as well with the participants of the course. So basically how I found you was through my osteopath, who did very basic EFT with me because she had done a course with you. And because I responded very well to it and I liked the approach, it was again something quite tangible. I then booked a session with you, and for me it was quite eye-opening, and it still is, that I'm not usually a hugely emotional person when it comes to shedding tears. And even when I was diagnosed, I can't actually remember me crying, but I sometimes wish I could cry. And when I did the session with you, there was really a lot coming up and out, which was great. So, but I just hand over to you now that you can introduce yourself and talk a bit about how you became an EFT practitioner, and just what the main things are that you do with clients.
Okay. So my background is that I studied business in college, and then I went on and I was working marketing, then advertising, and then I ended up in financial services. And I suppose I was the type of person who was just kind of running and doing all the time, and eventually just like this wasn't working for me anymore, and I actually got sick. I got chronic fatigue, and that I suppose was the start of my journey to start to be a different person, because the way I was, it just wasn't working for me. So I started out and I did a coaching course, which was fantastic, very much about setting goals and, working towards what you want. And then after that, I did neuro-linguistic programming, which is all about the language that we use and how we communicate with others, and all about creating new pathways in the brain. So what I mean by that is that, you see person X, you get annoyed, I get stressed, I eat chocolate. So it's all about kind of changing the pathways in your brain so that you're having more useful ways and useful reactions to things, very much done through language. And after that, then did a little bit of hypnotherapy, and then I'd always had an interest in tapping, which is what we're going to talk about. And once I studied tapping, it was just such a revelation for me. And for me, it's a thing that gets to the root of things so quickly. It is my number one thing that I start with everybody. I always do some tapping because it gets right to the root of the problem very, very quickly and helps you to process it and to release it and just to get rid of it for good. So I suppose that's kind of my actually came to be practitioner.
Yeah, great. And so what did you have worked quite a bit with cancer patients as well. So how do you think it is different, because it is obviously a very harsh diagnosis. So how do you think it's different to work with cancer patients, and why do you think it's so important to address the emotions as well for cancer patients?
First thing is that a diagnosis of cancer, and whatever route you take, you don't energy on feeling stressed, feeling angry, or I think wouldn't it be much better to be able to use that energy on helping your body to support your body and to heal itself. So for whatever is going on in your life, so from the very basic point of view, just so that you're choosing how you use your energy, and it's not going off in things like being angry, angry with your maybe your treatment is going, but empowering for you to actually make choices and to I suppose to ask the right questions, that you're coming from a place of kind of like, okay, I'm calm and I'm clear, and not this big ball of emotion when you're dealing with all of these different things that are going on. From a kind of a practical point of view, and I suppose from your point of view, I mean, it's a ketogenic diet, so people are really kind of taking care to put in good stuff into their body and to help them through this diagnosis. So why not do the same then with your thoughts, and not have to have these toxic thoughts kind of coming into your body, which are all just taking away from your energy. They're all just, what you really want to do is to help your body to relax and to heal and to support. Holding on to a lot of it diverts, you know, what it does, it diverts the kind of blood away from your gut. It's harder for you to absorb nutrients, which again, from your point of view, you want to create the optimum position or optimum conditions in your digestive tract. But actually, when you're stressed, that actually can also interfere with that. So from a lot of different angles, it really kind of does help to kind of clear the emotional side of things.
Mm. Yeah, and there is quite a lot of research into the emotions. So Molecules of Emotions is a great book, for instance, as well. And I know in Radical Remission, it's another book that is very important for cancer patients. They do address the emotions a lot as well. So I think it is having tools for cancer patients and for anybody as such. It is brilliant, especially to really, as you say, just looking at on the inside as well, and not just what we put into our bodies from the outside. It's both is very important.
Absolutely. And another book is Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief, which is again very much about how beliefs can affect us physically, you know. And beliefs is really all about our perception of the world. So that, again, that's another kind of useful tool in relation to this. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Yeah. So in terms of EFT, what impressed me at the time as well is that there is quite a lot of research and science behind the emotional freedom technique, or the tapping. So can you talk a little bit about this as well, and how maybe, I mean, it probably originated centuries ago, I'd say, the tapping, but can you give us a bit more info?
Okay, it's based on kind of, you know, the Chinese acupuncture system. So you have all of these meridians going around your body. So, and acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. And so actually the tapping and the acupressure part of it is a fairly recent development, in that it's kind of in the last kind of 30 or so years. And I suppose how it kind of developed was, first of all, through acupressure, that it was discovered that actually by tapping rather than using needles was as effective as using needles. And plus it was less invasive actually sticking needles in, because not everybody likes having needles put into them. And especially if you're going through cancer, you probably have enough needles going near you, you know. So, and then after that, then the next step was this man started kind of using affirmations in conjunction with the acupressure. And he kind of found that, you know, you could use it with using a system called kinesiology. Are you familiar with kinesiology at all?
Yeah.
And I think in the States, it's probably something to understand. It's about using muscle testing, and I suppose using the wisdom of your body, different view or different beliefs. So what they found was that using acupressure and statements, and people were, for instance, were saying weight. And how kinesiology works is they would muscle test. So I'm going to stick my arm out here, and if you say a statement and it's true, your arm stays all time. But actually, people their arm went weak, and he discovered was actually that although people were saying that they wanted to do one thing, that they want to lose weight, but actually their unconscious mind was saying, actually, well, it doesn't really feel safe to lose weight. That if I lose weight, I'm going to have to start dating, or all of my around food. And so what they actually did is they started to use tapping to help to overcome that. And I suppose how it's really kind of came to being used was a man called Roger Callahan, and he was working with some phobias, and she had a phobia for water. And she started saying, she said, well, actually, she said, I feel a bit sick in my tummy. So he had been using these positive affirmations and tapping around the body, and a bit sick in my stomach. So he said, which is the meridian for the eye. And she started tapping there for a few minutes, and then she said, actually, water anymore. And he just thought, well, this is too bizarre. I don't really believe this. And she said, no, it's gone. And that's a very dramatic result. Anyway, she went out and she started splashing water on her face. So he then started to experiment with different things. That, well, this is very interesting work on the emotions and phobias. So system by and what he thought field therapy and a set of algorithms. So if you have sadness, there's a certain points that you tap on. If you have anger, there are other points that you tap on. So you had to learn a whole set of different tapping procedures and different points to tap on for depending on what the problem was. He was a Stanford engineer, and he felt it was all a little bit complicated. And so what he did was he developed a system where you tap on you're hitting all of the main acupressure meridians around the body by tapping on a prescribed set of points. And so whether it's anger or it's sadness or whatever is going on, same set of points for everyone. Just made it much easier to people. And I suppose the way I like to describe EFT is it's about completing the process. And so on an emotional level, say for instance, your dog dies, and you know your mum or your dad say, "Oh, big girls don't cry," and you kind of tense up and you stop feeling sad, and you never get to finish feeling sad about your dog. So then you getting to process it. But very often, like, we just get so busy with our lives, don't get to release it and body. If you think you've all of these rivers, meridians, rivers of energy going around the body, and when you have a negative emotion, and that nothing can get past that tree. So you think of, so say for instance, you're diagnosed, every time you're going to go, you know, you tense up, your whole body tenses up, you know, the shock, the panic, the fear, onto that in your body. And what you do is when you tap around the body, you send a vibration down the energy line, and it kind of just dislodges it a little, so that now when you think about actually, I don't feel as panicked, or I don't feel, and you keep on doing that until you get the emotion down to zero. So it's very, very good at processing, you know, I just helping you to complete the, but a kind of safe and quick way actually that you. And I suppose that will, I think, especially in dealing with their doctors, and thinking about, I had a medical procedures years and years ago, and the doctor was just really, really busy. And, you know, you're so vulnerable when you go. You're so vulnerable when you go and you're sick. And they are the ones who have the automatically you kind of feel vulnerable. And then in terms of then the way they might speak to you, and maybe that's just because they're very busy and they're just trying to get through as many patients as possible. But I know myself that I was so traumatized, you know, and so upset, and that I actually didn't get to say what I wanted to say. I didn't get to ask the questions I wanted to ask, because I was just so full of, I'm just a big ball of emotion. And this is long before I discovered tapping. Whereas if I had been able to kind of calm myself down and say, okay, this is what, and it just helps you to come from a place of clarity. When you're very, very stressed, you know, your body is pumping out all a gland in your brain called the amygdala gets triggered, and so the blood actually goes away from the area of the brain where ration and reasoning and logic is stored, and goes straight to the fight or flight area. So they went when they're stressed, well, I can't think straight. It's no wonder you can't think straight, because the blood is actually not in the area where reasoning and logic is stored, this fight or flight area. And so what tapping does is, and they don't, but tapping actually, it turns off the switch, the amygdala, so it stops. So now there's a whole load of reactions kind of leading up, and it helps the body to know that, look, you don't need to have this fight or flight, turns this off. And they did some studies, and they found that actually by tapping for an hour, it led to a reduction in cortisol of 24%. So it's quite significant.
Yeah, that's great. Actually, Grainne, just a second. It seems to break up quite a bit. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly, yeah.
Sometimes I think that the image is a little bit blurred as well, so I wonder if we should just switch off the camera. That was brilliant, and I'm sort of, oh no, it's just, sometimes it's just sort of it was distorted. Your voice is quite distorted, and
Okay. Should I move to another location?
do you think there would be better connection somewhere else, or?
Sometimes I tell you, something like I just know with my mobile phone. Sometimes it's better downstairs.
Yeah, we can try downstairs. I mean, it would be lovely to see you. And there was just such a brilliant section there. There was, no, I don't want to lose that. But yeah, it was just...
If it doesn't work, we can record it again. Do you know what I mean? You'll know from after, like we could record it again. But will I go downstairs and just bear with me 2 seconds?
Or otherwise,
okay.
switch off the camera. That's the other option. And then usually the sound improves.
The sound will improve, and then I suppose if I want to do a demonstration, then
that's the problem. Yeah, then we can't really do that if we don't have the video. We can try downstairs and switch off.
2 seconds. Okay, well, it'll be a few minutes, and I just
yeah, sorry about that.
That's okay. No, but I'll have to turn on a few lights. Sure. Actually, I might try the kitchen. Let's see. Okay. See, you'll be seeing all of my house.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
As well. Okay, great. Thanks.
Oops. And I have a big book here because just to raise the camera up.
Yeah, I've got a box, a carton box actually here as well.
Yeah. Now, what I'll do is it's here. Oops, a daisy. And now my cat wants to come in. Bear with me 2 seconds.
Yeah. I've got 2 as well.
Now, okay, let's just see. My husband has taken up the piano, so we have a big keyboard in our dining room now. So
that's great.
Oops, Daisy. Now I might see how that is height wise. I'll get another few books just to. Oops. Is that bright enough for you, Patricia, do you think?
Yeah, that's great. The light is fine, yeah. It's just...
Okay, let me just see. I'm going to close the door behind me, and I'm going to shoot the cat out again because she's probably going to...
they tend to hop onto the keyboard.
Okay.
I think that's better here, actually.
Is that okay?
The movements aren't so, upstairs as well. I think it was probably the connection. So hopefully that'll work better. But
okay.
Yeah, let's just try this. And yeah, so that it was a really great section there about the evidence and how the in terms of how it evolved with acupuncture. But I mean, are you okay to go through that again?
Yeah, okay. And it's funny because I thought we'd talk about that, but
it just came to my mind. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Okay. So ask the question again.
I'll ask the question. So, yeah, and so I guess what particularly appealed to me when it came to choosing how to deal with my emotions and what technique or therapy to pick was that there is a lot of evidence, there's a lot of science behind emotional freedom technique. So can you just tell us a bit more about that, how it came about to become a form of therapy?
Okay, so it has its origins in acupuncture, and acupuncture has been around for thousands of years. And the way acupuncture was developed it wasn't actually by dissecting bodies, because in the culture at the time that wasn't allowed. It was actually purely by observation. So they would have kind of put, you know, pins in different places, and how it developed as a therapy was purely by observation, so inside of the body at all. And so out of acupuncture then came acupressure, which was a very popular specialty. So they would have things like shiatsu and things like that, which are acupressure based. And then we go to I suppose it was Australia actually, where they were looking. I'm jumbling up my words here now, Patricia. Okay, so there was a man where he was using acupressure, and he found that it was as effective as using acupuncture needles. So he found it just as effective. So by tapping, so acupressure is kind of by applying pressure, but he found that by tapping or percussing on points, it was as effective as using the needles. And then the next stage was actually, it was developed in terms of kinesiology. And kinesiology is about using the body and testing the body in terms of, so say for instance, you can test for foods a bit sensitive to wheat, which is a very common one. So if you're sensitive to wheat, at a very basic level, they would test your arm. And if your arm goes weak, then it's not good for your body. And what they were doing was, this man was kind of working on positive affirmations and things like that. And he found that when he was working with people who wanted to lose weight, for instance, he would test their arms, because they kept self-sabotaging, and this, they weren't losing any weight. And so he tested them. So they said, okay, I'm whatever weight, 100 pounds, 120 pounds. And their arms went weak. I said, well, like, what's going on here? And actually what he discovered was that when he dug a bit deeper, it wasn't about losing the weight. It was, well, if I lose weight, then maybe I'll lose my friends, or maybe I'll have to start dating again, or all of my activities revolve around eating these lovely, delicious meals, and I'm going to have to change. So at some level, that didn't feel safe. And so we kind of developed out of that, and developing kind of positive affirmations and using different tapping points. And then it went a stage further, and there's a man called Roger Callahan, and he was dealing very much with phobias. And he was dealing with a woman who had a phobia for water, and he'd been using kind of the acupressure points and tapping around the body. And she said to him, I'm just feeling a bit sick in my tummy. So he said, look, why don't you tap here? So this is the point of the stomach. Keep on tapping here. And she did this for a few minutes, and then she said, actually, I don't have a phobia for water anymore. So he thought, well, I'm not really sure I believe this. But anyway, she went out, and wherever he lived, he had a pool, and she was able to splash water on her face and everything. So he thought, okay, maybe this is a fluke. So he actually started to test it on a number of different things and a number of emotional issues. Using kinesiology, which is the testing of the, and with different points called thought, and that is a number of rhythms. So if you're feeling angry, it's another set of points. If you're feeling frustration, a different set of points. So you actually had to learn a whole load of different algorithms or different routines, depending what the emotion was. And then after that, a man called Gary Craig came along, and he had studied thought field therapy, but he just felt it was a little bit complicated. And for everybody, for people who wanted to use it for themselves, they really had to have a lot of knowledge. They had to know kinesiology, and then they also had to know all of these different routines. So again, by testing, he developed a routine where you tap on a prescribed set of points. And by doing that, you're hitting meridians in your body. So I have a craving, it's this. I have frustration, it's this. It's one set of points will do what you're dealing with. So he kind of simplified it. I just made it so much more accessible for people. And the thing about EFT, and the way I like to describe it, is that it's about getting to complete the process. So say, for instance, somebody said, your mom or dad might say to you, stop that crying, big girls don't cry. And see, you know, you kind of hold it all in and you don't get to finish being sad or whatever. And come out any, or maybe you might develop a belief, well, it's safe to cry, and you will be holding this in. And what tapping does, it helps you to complete and just helps you to release it. And so it's like you have all these rivers of energy. So meridians are based on these different rivers of energy going around your body. And when you have a negative emotion, my arm here, think of this, okay, my conversation with my doctor, my diagnosis, and you've got all of this stress. You think of it, you keep hitting this big tree. And what tapping down, so it kind of dislodges it a little bit, so I don't feel as panicked, or I don't feel as, keep tapping until hopefully 0.
Okay. It was great at the beginning, and then at the end, towards the end, the connection went again. It just sort of, it cuts off, and then I don't know exactly why it is, but
and maybe what we might do, what we could, my husband has a really good little camera. We could sit down together and record it.
Yeah,
maybe that's what.
Maybe that might be the better option.
But when, yeah, we'll see
how. Or I mean, I have a camera. I just have to, you know, doing the setup with the tripod and everything.
Yeah. So I know, because I was doing a video myself last week. So yeah, but it's and maybe that's what we
could just sit together. Yeah, we could just do it that way.
Yeah.
That's probably easier. And but it's so fascinating. I'm sure they're going to absolutely love it. You know what you have to say and everything. But I mean, we could do it next Tuesday. How much time do you have on Tuesday?
Yeah, no, that should be fine actually, because what I usually I keep kind of my Tuesday mornings free for kind of doing different calls and things, sales calls and following up. Tuesday morning is fine.
Yeah.
So do you want to come here, or do you want?
What time did we say? 10:30? I could just come a little bit earlier. 30. Let me just check here.
Okay.
I could come at I could drop my girl and then just come straight over. Let me just see. We have 10:30. Will I come at about she starts, well, I could come sort of 9:30. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that should be fine. That should be fine. And we can just move stuff around the room, whichever is the best way. And yeah.
So you think we could just use your camera and then we just sit opposite each other and do it that way then?
Yeah. I just wanted to check with Charlie, because Charlie, my husband, is away next week, and just to check that he is not taking, because it's his camera. So I just check, he's going to France next week, but if not, you could bring your camera and tripod.
Yeah, exactly. Or we can even just I mean, with the laptop as well. We'll see. I have a really good camera in my MacBook here, but it just depends.
Okay.
That might be the easiest, and just set it up somewhere nice, and that way we can just record it. I can put it straight into my ScreenFlow then. So that could be the other option as well, because I can sort of turn the camera around and then it records.
Yes.
And I think that's better. It's just a pity, because it's sort of from time to time it cuts off, and then it's hard to really get the words and everything. And I'm probably going to do a transcript anyway, because they're big into transcripts, all of them.
Okay.
So, I'd probably have to do that anyway, just type it out afterwards. But it's obviously, I think it will be nice to sit together anyway.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And because I do go through all the theory when I'm doing my training as well, and I haven't done it for a while, so I'll read up my notes again just to make sure that
they're all,
I'll have the names of.
Yeah, they're all quite sort of evidence based, and they're like a little bit of science, and so which is good. But I think it's really it's fascinating, and especially how you say, yeah, completing the process. I like that as well. I think that'll resonate with a lot of people, because that's what we quite often don't do. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as well, I think especially in your dealings with the medical professional, you know, that if you're calm and clear, you can ask different questions. But if you're about to burst out crying, it's very hard to, you know, to say, let her out. It's very hard to ask the right questions, you know, when you're just a complete ball of emotion.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I don't know why they don't do it here in Ireland, but in the UK, they actually always record all the consultations. All the consultations that I had with my oncologist were recorded, so I still have them. And you can listen to them again at home, because apparently I was at a CPD event the other day for GPs and oncologists, and they say that you retain 7% if you're just diagnosed and you're there in your first consultation. You will remember 7% of the information, which isn't an awful lot. You know, sort of, okay, great. So you might as well talk to a wall. So why don't you record this? I don't know why they don't do that. Just recording the consultation.
Yeah, I went to a guy in the Blackrock Clinic, and this when I have my chronic fatigue. I was writing notes, the angry that I was writing notes.
Yeah.
Look, I said, I know I'm not going to remember. Furious with me. I said, you're too anxious. You know, but you wouldn't remember. I wrote down notes, but yeah. But yeah, absolutely, I think it's a good idea to record.
Yeah, I wonder actually what they would say if you come in with your phone and say, okay, I'm going to record this conversation because I know I'm only going to retain 20%. They would probably go nuts.
They did
that.
Yeah, they did. But
yeah.
So see you. So Tuesday morning at what time did you say?
It's 9:30. Is that okay?
Perfect. Yeah, 9:30 is perfect. Okay. And so do you want to bring your laptop then? And
yeah, I'll bring the tripod and the laptop, and then we'll see what works better.
Okay.
Yeah, what we're most comfortable with, because sometimes my camera is it's a very good one, but it's very temperamental. Sometimes I want to move you know, a video across to my laptop, and then it says the file is damaged, and then I've got all this work sort of, oh, thanks very much, all for nothing. So the laptop is a little bit more reliable that way, so I'm probably going to take that and just record it on ScreenFlow then, and that way I can edit it straight away as well.
Yeah, okay. And I'll find out about whatever works best. So if you, for your laptop, you'll have to have it on a table, I presume, is it?
I just have to set it up on some books or whatever at good height. We can just check that we're definitely both in the picture, and with regards to sound as well. But usually it's I'll probably try it out here, what it is like if I'm a little bit further away, if it's still recording. Okay. But
okay,
I'm sure we'll find a way.
Okay. Great.
Okay. Brilliant. So see you Tuesday at 9:30. Thanks a million.
Great. Okay, see you Tricia. Bye.
Yeah, bye. Bye.